Well, it appears actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt is calling for internet censorship, and he's doing it in a sneaky way. Now, if you're not familiar with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he played Edward Snowden in the movie Snowden. And that's what's hilarious about all this, because after going through this story, I realized, Joseph Gordon-Levitt played Edward Snowden and didn't really learn a damn thing from what Edward Snowden was really talking about. Edward Snowden is very much against censorship, especially when it comes to the social media platforms. Now, he's doing this in a sneaky way. He presented in front of Congress. He's trying to basically say that his fear is how AI is going to damage children. This is a new sneaky thing that is being done where people are coming forward to speak to politicians and say that you have to censor the internet because we fear that our children are going to hear things and see things that's misinformation, and it's going to be problematic. But when we get into who Joseph Gordon-Levitt really is and what he has done before in the past, I think you are going to see that this is just an action to stop people from criticizing Israel. Let's go ahead and get into it again. His name is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. This was him. He posted this years ago, first day of shooting on Oliver Stone's Snowden. So he played Edward Snowden. That was him. I actually saw that movie, right? And it's interesting because I think many people, they probably remember him from a show back in the day. There was a sitcom called Third Rock from the Sun. That was the first thing I saw him as his acting debut, or at least that's what I thought it was. He may have been acting younger age, but that was really his big, like, bloop, like on the map. And like back in the day, he was on the cover of all these different, like the teeny bopper magazines that used to, publish. He used to be on the cover of all those, the boy heartthrob, like magazines and all that type of stuff. But that's what I remember him from, was that show where the family were aliens, but they lived in the US. So he basically has gone on to do other roles. And I have to point to the Snowden one because I feel like he didn't pick up anything from this at all. At all. Edward Snowden, as you guys know, went on to warn us that the US government was using surveillance in such a way that obviously invaded our privacy, that they weren't just spying on people that they thought were terrorists or whatever. They were spying on everyday Americans as well without our permission. Now, Edward Snowden, of course, no longer lives in the United States. He ran for his freedom because of this, because obviously he would have ended up being like another Julian Assange, where they would have imprisoned him. Till this day, it seems like no politician is willing to pardon Edward Snowden. So he has still not returned to the United States. I want to show you a sneak peek of what Joseph Gordon-Levitt said. Let's go ahead and bring this in here.
Good evening. A push to regulate artificial intelligence in Utah got a celebrity endorsement today.
A Hollywood actor appearing at the state capitol urging our state lawmakers to pass a bill that he says will help keep children and others safe as this technology of AI gets more and more powerful.
The state house. I'm sorry. I think I said Congress, but the state house. So listen to this.
My name is Joe. I work in film and TV.
A modest introduction from actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who isn't here to talk movies.
I'm a dad. That's why I'm here today. I have 2 boys and a girl, and I am worried for them.
He says artificial intelligence has great potential, but that AI companies put children at risk.
I'm worried about them growing up in the future that's dominated by these amoral AI businesses that have proven time and time again that they are incapable of prioritizing the well-being of kids.
The actor supports a bill from Representative Doug Fia requiring AI companies to make and publicize safety plans and report any incidents when they happen. It also prohibits companies from lying about the risks of AI or retaliating against their employees who come forward with concerns.
It doesn't touch development. When technology becomes powerful enough to shape a child's behavior or put the public at risk, we can't just look the other way.
But not everyone supports the bill.
We have a couple of concerns about
Some say it's too vague and goes too far in regulating AI, putting Utah at a competitive disadvantage. But in the end, star power prevailed, and this actor got what he asked for.
Please do the right thing
And pass this bill.
So here we go. We have yet another celebrity. And see, when you're listening to this on the surface, it seems like, oh, yeah, he's doing the right thing. But as I get further into this, you're going to see what he's ultimately pushing for. There is this trend that has been starting that I've noticed where people are using the excuse of my children may be exposed to things that is going to be dangerous for them because of artificial intelligence, because of technology. I have my criticisms about AI too. But I think what exposes Joseph is the next statement that he makes, where he is outright calling for censorship. And when you see what he did in the past, I think this is all going to make sense as to what the ultimate goal is. The other thing that I want to add is that if Joseph Gordon-Levitt cares so much about the well-being of his children and other children, one would think that Joseph Gordon-Levitt would be screaming at the rooftops about the Epstein files. One would think that Joseph Gordon-Levitt would be speaking to politicians about that. Now, why not that? Well, that's probably because Joseph Gordon-Levitt is very much pro-Israel, and the Epstein files implicate Israel because Epstein was working on the behalf of Israel as a spy in the United States and in other countries as well. So when we go on here, I want to show you this as well. Some of you are probably like, who is this guy? Let me show you what he says next that really reveals it all. Shout out to Chris Menahan here. Zionist Nepo baby Joseph Gordon-Levitt, together with the Center for Countering Digital Hate, went to Capitol Hill this week to lobby for a repeal of Section 230. So this is where he goes to Congress. So do you see how that goes? He started off presenting to Utah politicians, and now he made his way to Congress. And now all of a sudden, it's not just about artificial intelligence. Now it's about something else. And that's the point that I was trying to get people to understand. I will show you what he says here. This move to eliminate internet freedom by repealing Section 230, which is what Joseph wants to do. It follows the U.S. government banning TikTok to suppress criticism of Israel and forcing its sale to a cadre of investors led by pro-Israel IDF megadona Larry Ellison. Repealing Section 230 has long been a goal of the Anti-Defamation League and the Israel lobby. And that's what this is really all about, folks. So you see how he was able to use, I'm worried about my kids because of AI. And now this has transitioned into the ultimate goal, which is to censor social media, to censor these platforms in a way that benefits Israel and benefits the ADL. And this is the nugget that people need to watch out for. So listen to what he says here.
I understand what Section 230 did to bring about the birth of the internet. That was 30 years ago. And I also understand how the internet has changed since then. Because back then, message boards and other websites with user-generated content, they really were more like telephone carriers. They were neutral platforms. But that's not how things work anymore. Today, the internet is dominated by a small handful of these gigantic businesses that are not at all neutral, but instead algorithmically amplify whatever gets the most attention and maximizes ad revenue.
Pause. You see where this is going? So here's the thing. The internet was always, as long as I can remember, corporate. From the beginning, it was always corporate as long as I can remember. Remember AOL? How many people remember AOL Instant Messenger? You've logged on. You've got mail. Remember that? So I don't know what he's talking about here. But when he gets to this part about the algorithm, look, we all complain about the algorithm. But the reality is what he's trying to say is that it's elevating things that should not be elevated according to him. Joseph is a Zionist. He is pro-Israel. And that's the problem here. This is the same criticism that we heard about TikTok. So here we go again. TikTok was just the beginning. They're really trying to come after all of these platforms. And that is why a big amount of us, I would say, whether left or right, have been screaming about anti-censorship, because it always starts with one and then it eventually spreads. TikTok is unusable now. I told everybody, take it off your phone. I took it off of my phone. I deleted my account. Many of us moved over to other things. But TikTok has basically just become Israeli spyware. So this is Joseph Gordon-Levitt acting on the behalf of the ADL to push this agenda elsewhere. And because he is a celebrity, he instantly gets this opportunity to speak in front of Congress. Now, I want you to think about something for a second. Joseph Gordon-Levitt has millions and millions of dollars. If he doesn't want his kids to see something, he has the resources and the networks to make that happen. But the everyday voter who is a constituent of said politician in Congress doesn't get the opportunity usually to speak in front of Congress. But because he's a celebrity, he gets it just like that. And because he is pro-Israel, he gets it just like that. Let's continue on.
And we know what happens when we let these engagement optimization algorithms be the lens that we see the world through. We get a mental health crisis, especially amongst young people. We get a rise in extremism and a rise in conspiracy theories. And then, of course, we get these echo chambers.
Pause. What I tell you. Extremism. And extremism is whatever they want it to be. It can change tomorrow. He says conspiracy theories, which can be anything they want it to be. Anything that doesn't go with the status quo narrative, they can label a conspiracy theory. For the longest time, people said the Pizzagate was a conspiracy theory. But now with the recent drop of the Epstein files, people are starting to pause. So think about that for just a second. Also, is conspiracy necessarily a bad thing? I think that we have been brainwashed to believe that it is. Maybe all conspiracy really means is something that goes against the State Department narrative, goes against what they want you to know. We'll go on more.
These algorithms, they amplify the demonization of the other side so badly.
What other side? Because when it comes to left and right, the demonization happens on both sides. So what other side is he talking about? He's talking about the Israel side. Look, this has been going on for years. We've been complaining about the social media algorithm for years. Why didn't Joseph Gordon-Levitt come forward about this before October 7th? Why is he coming out about it now? Because these platforms have allowed people to expose the truth about Israel. That's why. Now, many have wondered for a long time. They're like, well, was Joseph Gordon, for the longest time, I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt was white and Asian. I thought he was half Asian. He's not. And I thought that, a lot of people, I looked online, a lot of people online thought that too. He's not. We'll get into his background in just a second. But I think we all know what this is really about. Where was all this push to change algorithms prior to October 7th?
That we can't even have a civil conversation. It seems like we can't agree on anything. And yet, one of the only things that the American public seems to agree broadly on right now, left, right, and center, Republicans, Democrats, independents, we all agree that we don't trust these big tech businesses and we don't like the influence they're having on our lives and the lives of our kids.
Now, again, I don't know how old his kids are, but can't he choose not to allow his kids to be on social media? Can't he choose to not give his kids a cell phone? Can't he choose to? And some people say, well, that's far-fetched nowadays, Sabrina. Yeah, and I get that. But I mean, you're a parent. When does it become the job of the parent to parent? Because that's not really what this is about. I'm against censorship of all forms, whether I agree with what someone is saying or not. I'm against it because this is what it leads to. This is a dangerous path. I don't like what's being said on social media, so we need to silence these platforms. Then what? I don't like what's being said at these group meetings in the bookstore, so we need to stop having groups meet at the bookstore. These things have happened before in the past. I don't like what this book said, so we need to ban this book. Do you see where I'm going with this? That's how far it can go.
Well, if we want to do something about that, the right first step is to sunset Section 230. It's not going to solve everything, but it is the right first step.
I'm telling you guys, so here we go. Here we go, right? So let's go a little bit further with Joseph. Blakely did a really good job with this. She's right. This could destroy internet freedom.
So actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt went to Capitol Hill to lobby for the repeal of Section 230, which would end the internet as we know it. And as we've talked about many times, especially in all those bad internet bills, go to badinternetbills.com if you want to learn more about those. They constantly, the powerful and the censors in this country, want to use safety and combating misinformation and national security as reasons and excuses to control more of what you can see and say and to take away more of your privacy and censor you more online.
We get a rise in extremism and a rise in conspiracy theories. And then, of course,
Oh, there it is. The ADL and other Zionist extremist groups, as well as other censorship groups, have wanted to repeal Section 230 for a long time. Just remember that any time that they come together in Congress on a bipartisan basis, it is always to strip you of more of your rights and give more power to the billionaire class, the corporations, and the ruling elite.
Because remember, they rarely pass legislation that solely benefits the people. The majority of the legislation that is passed has some piece of corporate interest benefit in it. So it's not about safety, but that's the code word that they're using to make you think if we stop these things, then you are going to be more safe. This is the same excuse that they're going to use for increasing the surveillance state. It is going to make you more safe. Hollywood has been warning us about this for the longest time, whether it's been the movie Minority Report or other futuristic movies. Watch the show called Black Mirror. They literally put out the whole game plan in front of you about what is to become. So we have to pay attention.
The corporations and the ruling elite. We just went through this with TikTok, with them saying, oh, the reason why they have to take over TikTok and censor the fuck out of it and destroy the app as we know it is because of safety and national security. They're about to take that sledgehammer they used to destroy TikTok and do that to the whole internet.
Yep. And that was what we were worried about. That was our biggest fear, is that it's going to spread to other places. So I have reasonable doubt that this is really about safety. In fact, I say I know 100% that this is about censorship. Now, again, he played Snowden. Let me tell you what Snowden warned people about with this censorship with social media. Listen to this.
So much of culture is intermediated by platforms. People do not talk to each other directly. They talk to each other through Gmail. They talk to each other through Twitter. They talk to each other through Facebook, through Instagram, whatever. There are gatekeepers everywhere. And really just in the last few years, basically since the ISIS social media craze, all these social media companies, all these platform providers have become more comfortable with acting as censor, with deciding the things that can and cannot be said. And they started with, again, things that are pretty easy cases. They go, we don't want to show, videos of innocent people being lit on fire, beheaded, or pushed off of buildings or whatever. But that's crept and crept and crept and crept and crept until the line for permissible speech has really become a wave. that is in motion, and it's constantly narrowing. There are new classes of sort of impermissible speech every day. And the way these companies have, to this point, begun to resist complaints about them censoring or it being arbitrary or, them picking and choosing things that can be said. Facebook especially has proposed their own court. What is your opinion on this idea of the court of Facebook? Where does this lead us? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Does it work as a fig branch? Is it just garbage or fig leaf? And just how do you see that the position on freedom of speech of these companies, how they're sort of dodging that, and where we should be? How have we moved from the internet of speech, or the internet is a platform for the absolutist position of freedom of speech, which is the answer to bad speech is more speech, which we've had for ages, to this new thing of, deciding who and what gets censored and where, and how do we just scale censorship?
Yeah,
So this is what I really wanted you to hear, what Edward Snowden said here, because like I said, Joseph played Edward Snowden in the movie Edward Snowden. When you play a real life person, you have to do research. I would imagine he probably at some point may have spoken to Edward Snowden to get a feel for who he was as a person to portray that role. And this dude learned absolutely nothing at all, because Edward Snowden is not pro-censorship, and he's been warning people about this for the longest time. It starts with one thing, and then it creeps into more issues that you can't talk about or you can't discuss. We are losing free speech in this country. I've been trying to tell you guys, this is a big wake-up call. Now, back to Jordan in the past, I want to show you something, the Israel connection. Following the October 7th attacks, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, along with, pay attention, Gillian Anderson, Amy Poehler, LL Cool J for some weird ass reason, Stephen Bartlett, Scott Galloway, and tech giants, Google, Meta Platforms, which is Facebook, Instagram, Intel, Amazon, Siemens, and Stripe, pulled out of an annual technology conference, Web Summit, following tweets by its CEO, Patty Cosgrave. Now, what did Patty say? Cosgrave had tweeted that during its military action in Gaza in the aftermath of October 7th, Israel was guilty of committing war crimes, which Israel is guilty of committing war crimes. You go back through his past a little bit here. Let's go to his early life, just to show you a little bit more about him. Grew up in Sherman Oaks neighborhood in LA. He stated that he is of 100% Ashkenazi Jewish descent from a family that is not strictly religious. His parents were among the founders of the Progressive Jewish Alliance. Goes on to say here, his father was once the news director of Pacifica radio station. His mother ran for U.S. Congress in California's 28th Congressional District in 1970 from the Peace and Freedom Party. So it just, here again, not strictly religious. So if you're not strictly religious, then what is it really about? This is the supremacy I was telling you about. So no, it's not about the religion. It's about the ethnicity. And this is the problem. You see what I mean? Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a Zionist. So here we go. Here we go. Now you go on to see what happened to that guy. I think this is interesting. You guys need to see this. The guy who said Israel was committing war crimes, he stepped down. Patty Cosgrave, he stepped down. This was Patty Cosgrave. And he issued an apology, which he shouldn't have because he was correct. Irish entrepreneur, he would know. Again, Ireland and their history, they know. Unfortunately, my personal comments have become a distraction from the event and our team, our sponsors. Our startups and the people who attend, I sincerely apologize again for any hurt I've caused. So you see, this is what it just, again, because he said war crimes are war crimes, even when committed by allies, and should be called out for what they are. Joseph Gordon-Levitt had a problem with that. So when Joseph Gordon-Levitt sits there and he says the conspiracy, the extremists that are on the internet, he's talking about people like Patty. And all Patty said was that Israel was committing war crimes. That's what this is really about, guys. This ain't about his damn kids. This is not about safety. This is about people turning against Israel. And I also find something else very interesting. He stood there in front of Congress with representatives from the Republican Party. Now he's so willing to work with the Trump administration, which is interesting considering what he said about Trump before in the past.
What real life crimes or mysteries have you been fascinated by?
The Jinx, that was like crazy.
I'm going to just go for it right now.
Okay.
Are you ready to go with me?
Yeah.
How about when the former president called up an election official in Georgia and said, you need to change the votes 11,000 so that I can win. I'm the president and you need to do this.
That's a real life crime.
That is a real life crime.
Yeah.
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 Come at me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I know.
Here
I know
they
you're
come.
pissed, but let's just talk about the fact that the former president is a full-on criminal.
The former president, he says, is a full-on criminal who he is willing to work with now all of a sudden. He's so willing to work with his administration. Anything to help Israel. So don't fall for it, guys. Do not fall for this mess. This is not about safety. This is not about the protection of children. Like I said, where's his voice on the Epstein files? This is about more censorship and them trying to cancel free speech. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is no different. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.